Hi, good night, folks. I probably won't be too long tonight because I have to prepare for an activity at the cafe tomorrow for Independence Day. But I really wanted to take the time to talk about what I had mentioned earlier, which is misbehaving in public office, something new. Is it something new? Who knows? Um, I don't think it's new. I don't think it's new at all. And I am speaking a bit slow because I'm trying to invite some people to the chat before I actually get fully started. But basically, this recent arrest of Ananram Logan, which I won't speak about specifically, but in general, it really brings me back to the point of the condition of our political landscape. What our political landscape looks like is very concerning. You know, and on the onset, I would say that I will not speak to or make judgments on the person that was arrested, because it's not him in particular I want to address, but the pool of politicians that we have currently. And when I say currently, I mean from previous administrations, this administration, the whole lot. And what comes to mind is the timing. You know, is it that new evidence came up recently? Because I'm wondering, I'm not casting aspersions, but I'm asking questions. Because it seems convenient that it happening at this time. Again, I'm not speaking to guilt or innocence of anybody. But with all that is going on and the favorability ratings or lack of favorability on the PM and others in the current government, the timing seems a bit suspicious. But that's beside the point. That is one point, but apart from that, my issue is the people that we keep putting into political office, the people that we keep putting to represent us. Why do we keep putting the same bunch of people to represent us? Another classification is, you have PNM currently, you had the partnership previously, you had PNM before that, and UNC before that, and NAR before that, and well, however it went, no PNM, UNC, NAR, whatever. But the commonality is that we have situations where it's the same people being recycled, or the same philosophies being recycled by these politicians. So you stamp out one for corruption, but the other one is alleged to be corrupt as well. So, and another thing is, we are tribal in this country. So we have the PNM tribe and the UNC tribe. And dare I say, in some circles you have the quote-unquote African tribe and the Indian tribe. As opposed to trying to find people who will certainly and surely represent the interests of your community, your constituency, and our country. But we are not maturing at all, no matter what happens, it seems. We are not maturing as a nation to go past partisan politics, to go past the idea, well, it has to be UNC because they look like me, or it has to be PNM because they look like me, or it has to be one of those parties because my mother and my father was in that party, so I have to continue that. And then it have some parents who really come down on their family, or some family members would come down on other family members for having a different point of view. In any case, there are other people who are interested in serving this country. There are other people who have been serving this country without political office for decades. But those people are not given the opportunity to be part of the ruling government because, one, they may not fall in line with traditional party politics. They may not have the willingness to bribe certain people. They may not be willing to accept certain bribes. Then you have some coming up as pretenders who claim to be different from the others, but is six of one and half a dozen of the next. We need to wake up. We need to start thinking about who we put in office. Now, while he didn't win by one vote, I have to say that every election, in the last 3 general elections, I voted for a different party. And that is not because I can't make up my mind. That's because I look at what performance was and then made a determination. This time, in what was it, 2015, I did not vote for party, but I voted for the individual. And that individual in St. Joseph, well, part of St. Joseph in the Tunapuna constituency was Esmond Ford. And I voted for Esmond Ford because of his work as a local government representative, not because he was wearing a red jersey. I actually communicated with the candidates individually and asked them why I should vote for them. And out of the 2 main ones, the only one that had a track record was Esmond Ford. And so I voted for Esmond Ford in that situation. Some people say, well, PNM all the way, and because I said I voted for Esmond Ford. I did not vote for the PNM, I voted for Esmond Ford because of his track record. And even as an MP now, with responsibility as a deputy speaker, he still is doing a lot. And so I feel comfortable in my decision to have voted for Esmond Ford. The side effect of that is that Esmond Ford is PNM. The side effect of that is the PNM is currently in power. The side effect of that is that I am not happy with how things are being governed. But as far as my immediate community where I lived at that time, I feel confident that I made the best choice for that community. And sad to say, a lot of people don't use or exercise their franchise for the best candidate and choose to vote for party. Sometimes the best candidate might not be from PNM or UNC, or otherwise it might be an independent, but it's unheard of for independents to win in this country. As popular as Jack Warner he won once but then couldn't sustain it because of this tribalism that we have in this country. I wouldn't say it's because of his alleged corrupt practices, because those allegations were around for years and years and years, and he still won the seat a couple of times. So I don't want to say it's because of his alleged corrupt practices. I would say it's because of tribal politics and partisan politics. So it was either a PNM candidate or a UNC candidate would win. They would not sustain the ILP or any of the others because of this culture that we've bred or allowed to manifest in our land that is either or, and then we complain every time. It is said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We vote UNC and expect things to be different. We vote PNM and expect things to be different. We vote PPP who contain the same people from before and expect things to be different. Our neighbor, our friend is trying to do things in the community or does things in the community, like myself and many other people, do things in communities and they would not be recognized or they would not be supported by their neighbors and friends because they're not part of the established PNM or UNC or PPP, because we are stuck in that culture of tribal politics. And yet we complain over and over again, but we're choosing the same people over and over again. How can we expect a different result? And this misbehavior in public office, just to go back to what the headline is on this live, is not now people misbehaving in public office. I think the timing is peculiar because of the ridiculously low favorability of the current administration. You know, with the port accusations, with the port and the port authority and the sea bridge situation and everything else, things with the HGC and otherwise. Now we have someone being arrested, rightly or wrongly so. I not even going there. The point is not one person. The point is that the timing is what I'm concerned about. They could have, I am wondering, I'm not saying as fact, but I'm wondering if perhaps things were held back until an appropriate time. Now, if that is the case, that is very concerning to me. So, dealing with how the perception index is very bad. I mean, we would hear about the perception index of politicians in this country. Corruption is perceived to be high internationally in Trinidad and Tobago. And that was under the UNC, that was under the PNM previous, that was under the PPP, the PP. that is under the PNM currently. So what is different? What is changing? What are we doing differently? What are we doing differently? If we want things to be different, then we must change our modus operandi. We must change what we're doing. But we are sticking with old methodologies. We're sticking with the old way of choosing candidates. We're not looking for people. Okay, if someone works in a community, and I say work, I mean does charitable work in communities, does activities that is of no profit or of minor profit to them without being in political office, and they are not corrupt or they're not hoarding money for themselves through those things when out of office, but you're seeing things being done, whether it be through self-help, be it through the village council and those kinds of things. But we wouldn't choose those people because, unless of course they are aligned with one of the main political parties. God forbid they started another political party. God forbid they try to be an independent candidate. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna gain any support. We look at such people and laugh at them, what they're trying to do. People laughing at Watson Duke, and I can't believe I'm using that name, but people laughing at Watson Duke with the swim. But I agree with the person that I copied the post from. He's doing something, whether they call it pappy showing or whatever. The people in government pappy showing enough. So if it's a pappy show that required for Tobago to be linked to Trinidad better, then so be it. Papi show. Take a swim that you can't finish. So be it. Because what is being done otherwise? A one-man investigation of a multi-million-dollar fiasco with boats that supposed to be getting us from Trinidad to Tobago and vice versa. Not many of us are doing enough. Not enough of us is doing sufficiently to affect change. And again, I go back to another international study, or they compare us and say that we are one of the happiest people in the world, because apparently a recession, corruption, all these things, not enough for us to get sad, not enough for us to protest, not enough for us to stand up and say is enough. So as the engineer who is the finance minister said, well, people not protesting in the streets so they could raise the price, kind of thing. That I'm paraphrasing, but essentially, if we are not raising our voices, if we are not standing together, then the government of the day, whoever it is not motivated enough to do right by the persons who elected them to serve us. But what will change? My vote alone is not enough. Every one of us has a role to play. And if we sit down on our laurels and do nothing, then we cannot complain. We should not complain. Many people in this country are underemployed. You say, well, the unemployment rate is 4 or 5% or 5.5 or 4.5 or whatever. But you have people underemployed. So even if you're employed, you're working for $4,000 a month. But for you to live in a safe area, the rent might be $4,000. What you're gonna eat? Or what you're saving for your retirement? We are unemployed. The cost of living constantly going up. If you look at line items, people talk about doubles a lot. People talk about KFC, the Real Deal, and whatever else. Every year, the cost of items goes up more than 10%, sometimes 20%. And the government is not controlling those things from inflating so high that we have to choose between bread and butter or going to school or something like that. We are not, apparently we are happy as a nation. We are happy with the minimum wage being where it is. We're happy with some companies not giving people a full 40 hours a week so that they could pay you and not pay taxes or whatever it is. We are happy with the way things are, because if we were not happy, surely we would have done something. Surely would have protested. Surely would have been writing our MPs. Surely would have been writing petitions, signing petitions. That's not even taking a lot from us to sign a petition, but some people put out petitions and people not even taking the time to write, to help with a petition to get something done. If it's something trivial, like it's a sign of the whole situation. But there was a big uproar over the KFC Real Deal. Facebook was littered with things on the Real Deal and how mad people were. Right? Only a few people protest, even though Tobago is suffering, because most of the supply is coming from Trinidad. How many of them stand up and protest? There should have been 1,000+ people looking to swim with Watson Duke. They could have done it in a relay form, each person swim a little bit. There should have been so many people that would have shown that people actually supported, but 3 or 4 people. So then you might think there really isn't a problem. You might think people don't be on standby in the airport for tickets to go to and from Tobago. There is no problem, because if only 5 people went into protest. Now this character, Wayne Kublal Singh, that's a character, and I'll leave it there. But even so, the people from that community, if they had problems with it, how many of them were protesting with him? We are a happy nation. Everything is fine, everything is cool, everything is copacetic. So let all the politicians misbehave, because if it's not this set, it's the next set, because we're going to put them back anyway. Because we're not willing to think outside the box. We're not willing to raise up people who actually willing to work for the country. We are just stuck in this partisan politics of UNC and PNM, or PP and PNM, and people have some loyalty to parties for whatever reason, and they might think they will get a job, but how many people who vote PNM get a job? How many people who vote UNC get a job? How many people, there was a time when I, as a business person, would get not big contracts, but contracts here and there under the previous administration. I think that was under Patrick Manning. So you get a little bit here, a little bit there, so you survive. When the partnership came in, I guess they have to service their people. So all contracts, whether it's a $1,000 contract or $5,000 or $10,000 or whatever, dry up. This new PNM come in, they assume everybody else who was there before is for the previous party, so that they cut back on contract employment and those kinds of things. And again, the same thing with who get in contracts and so forth. But we are a happy country, we are happy people, so we go ahead and do nothing and just complain and spend more money on alcohol because we're stressed, quarrel with our own families and so forth, when we have stress at work because we're working 8 hours to 14 hours, depending on who it is and what job it is, 16 hours a day sometimes, and not getting value for money in terms of your salary. So that is one level of frustration. But you do nothing about it. You do nothing about it. You do nothing. So why charge one person with misbehavior in public office? Is it only one person? After so many years, you only find evidence to charge. I'm not saying that he'll be convicted. Who knows, whatever evidence comes forward or whatever. But we think it's only one person. We think it's only under the previous administration. Do we? Even the Prime Minister admitted to corruption being the norm, and it's hard for people to get past it, and it's a challenge for him. So I applaud him for saying that. But there are things that those in office can do that they're not doing. Let me use the opportunity to talk about ministries. One near and dear to me is Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. Now, it's always been that, and sometimes it went to youth empowerment and gender, or gender, youth, and child development, different dispensations. But under all the dispensations, youth suffers. Gender is another area that is seen as, although it's in gender, people assume it's about women and or women only. The philosophies in the minds of the leaders stop the growth and progress of initiatives that develop the nation. Those two in particular, gender and youth, are bastard childs and thrown by the wayside. Sport gets some attention, like when people win a little gold medal, they might be willing to put a little more in the budget next time, and that kind of thing. But youth, we probably have near to 3 national youth policies. Not one, and I've worked with the government on 2 of them, not one of them have they decided to fully implement or implement fully any aspect of those policies. Everything, the crime situation, everything is interconnected. If you're not taking care of the youth, those are the adults of tomorrow, those are the leaders of tomorrow. So what do we have to look forward to where that is concerned? How does the future look if the government is impotent to help the youth of this nation? What are we expecting? But we are a happy people. Nothing to complain about. Nothing to stand up for. Nothing to ruffle our feathers. You know what upsets me? And some people start foundations, like, you know, for cancer or for this, that, and that, and whatever. But they do it when the child gets that ailment or a family member dies or something because of an accident, and they start something to reduce drunk driving and so forth. We don't think about situations until it affects us personally, and that is part of the problem. We are selfish people. So only when things affect us, then we start thinking about it. But at that point, it's too late. When people start foundations after their child dies or whatever, I mean, if you had done it before, there might have been a better chance for help at that point, when you needed it. But you recognize that at the point when you need it, didn't have, so then you want to start something. We can't and shouldn't wait for something to reach home before we start speaking about it. And even so, I'm checking myself and correcting myself, because yes, that reached home. So it's like things have to reach totally extreme for us to wake up and do something. And we are desensitizing ourselves on top of that too, because the kind of things I see being posted on Facebook, the kind of things I see the media showing, I mean, murder is normal now. Not, somebody died and so forth. It's normal. Rape is normal. Kidnapping is normal. All these ills, normal. Normal. Because we have desensitized ourselves to the problems around us. So only when it reaches home, then we, oh, this is important too. So maybe I should do something. But at that point, what's the point? What's the sense? We are allowing our land and our people to waste away. How many of our brothers and sisters and children are dying? or incarcerated. And what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? What tangible difference are you making in the life of the people around you? Are you getting up in the morning? Okay, even if you're praying to whoever is your God and whatever, you have breakfast, you go to work, you come back home, whatever. But what mark are you leaving on this earth as you can look back and say, I did that? What are you doing? Going through the motions for 70 on average, or now 15. The average life expectancy has gone up a bit. But even so, 80 years or 100 years on the timeline of life on the whole is a short space of time. What are we doing with this? Do we have to suffer as much as we do? Do we have to put up with corrupt politicians as much as we do? Do we have to put up with shortages of food and clothes and everything else as much as we do? I know people who have lost hope and feel like they shouldn't bother to live another day because it's so bad. And I tell them all the time, because I'm an optimist, that things will get better. Things will get better. I keep saying that. Things will get better. But the key for things to get better is for us to do something. If it's in our own life, it's for us to do something differently. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again in our own life and expect things to be different. We can't stay in the same job and expect things to get better. We can't expect to get another job without applying for other jobs. We can't expect a promotion without preparing ourselves for that promotion. We can't expect a better person to lead this country if we do not vote for a better person to lead this country. So again, everything comes back to us in our own space and as a nation and as human beings on the whole. It's what we do that affects us, and what we do affects others around us. Worrying gets us nowhere. So I'm not saying not to be, or to move away from being happy people and just be doom and gloom and sad and stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying where it is within your means to do something, do it. Where it is within your means to say something, say it. Where it is within your means to sign a petition, sign it. Where it is within your means to help someone up when they fall, do it. If we do nothing, then expect nothing to change. I think I'll leave it here. Thank you very much. Have a good night.